Yes. Right, so we're starting to archive. Have I got the floor now?
It's all yours.
Right, lovely. Okay, yes. I've never used Wimber before for doing a presentation. No, I confess to have used a couple of similar tools. Just a quick, brief introduction to who I am. My name's Russell Stannard. I didn't even write that on the screen there. I should have written that on the screen. My name's Russell Stannard. I've just started working at Warwick University. I've only been working here for about 3.5 months. And I run a website, which I will show you later, and that website is called teachertrainingvideos.com. And teachertrainingvideos.com is basically where I offer free help videos to show teachers in language teaching how to use technology when they're teaching. And it's very, very popular. It gets currently about 10,000 unique users a month from all over the world. And I don't make any money from it. It's all completely free. I'm a believer in what we call open educational resources. So I do all that work for free. People often ask me then, well, where's the benefit for you? Well, the benefit for me is that the website has become so popular that I get fantastic opportunities to travel around the world and do talks and presentations, but this is a particularly unusual one because I'm using Wimber. But basically the website, if you go on there, if you want to use a wiki or you want to use a blog or you want to know some good websites where you can do audio recordings or you want to make cartoons or you want to create animations, you can go on there and click on the videos and you will see me actually showing you how to use these tools. So there's no need for you to read anything. You can actually, what I do is I have some software that records the screen of my computer. So everything I do on my computer is being recorded, and I'm going to show you this later. And so I record myself doing a wiki, I record myself making animation, etc. The website's become so popular that there's now a separate section for all languages. So there's stuff about English language teaching, which is my main area of interest, but there's also training videos for teachers of Spanish and French, and I used to teach Spanish as well. All languages, Chinese, Japanese, there's a lot of websites. One of the interesting things about that, for me particularly, is that the website has become so popular that people from all around the world now send me any new sites that they find. And so I've got a huge, great database of the most interesting websites for learning languages. And of course, I'm continually making the videos to show teachers, well, I've found this website, look, this is how it works, etc. So it's a great resource, and it's free, and it will stay free because I've been very, very lucky. I won, in fact, 4 awards, but 3 that are connected to language teaching. One of them was from the British Council this year. I won the Elton's Award for technology for that website. I also won the Times Higher Award back in 2008 for innovation in technology for the same website. And I also won the TEFL Net Award of Website of the Year in 2009. So from that, I've been really, really lucky that I've won quite a lot of funding, and I've put all that funding into the website to make sure that everything's free. So that is one of the reasons why, if you make use of the website, then you don't have to pay anything. There's a newsletter on there that you can sign up to as well. I also write the Web Watch articles in a magazine called The English Teaching Professional, and that is where I write about the use of technology in language teaching. I've been doing that for 10 years now. That's a column that comes out every 2 or 3 months, every 2 months, sorry, and it's about how I use technology in the classroom. Now, unfortunately, I haven't been using or practicing so much recently because when I first took up the job at Warwick University, for the first 3 months I wasn't actually doing any teaching. So I'm really looking forward to this term and getting back into the classroom. Right, that's a little bit about me. Just to tell you what I'm going to try and do today, basically I'm going to do 3 things. I'm going to talk you through some experiments that I've been doing over quite a long period of time and how I've done those experiments. Then I'm going to demo it live, and this is going to be where we're really going to push the technology to the limits, because it's just no good me doing a presentation. I want you to see these technologies that I'm talking about actually being used. So we're going to try and do this through Wimber, and I know Teresa's a little bit worried about how this is going to work. We're really going to push the technology to its absolute limits, but hopefully we will be able to do live demos of me using some of these technologies. And then hopefully somehow there'll be a way of us doing questions. In a normal kind of Wimber situation, you would be online with me anyway at a computer now, and you'd be able to fire questions through the chat. I've got a chat here at the bottom that I could use, and if you were sitting on a computer, you'd also be able to use it, as well as, of course, talk with me. But we're in a slightly different situation here because you're an audience sitting down and passively consuming everything that I'm going to say to you. But hopefully, anyway, we'll work out a way of dealing with questions. Right. One thing I want to make a point of is that I'm really into using web tools and tools that are really simple. I'm not really that interested in things that I think become a little complicated. Let me just click onto another screen here. So I look around on the web and I try to find really easy tools. And as I said, I'm going to demo them later. And all the tools I'm going to demo literally are 3 or 4 clicks. But just to explain an example, one of the things I'm going to demo to you today is something called Audioboom. And Audioboom is a website where you go. It only has one button. It says record. You click on that button and it starts to record your voice. You click another button and it stops the recording. And then you press another button that says send. You write the address of someone in, and you click on the button, and it sends that to that person. So that really is simple. That's 4 clicks. You literally go to Audioboom, you click the button, you start recording your voice, you stop it, you click another button to send it, you write in the address, where in the space that's provided of the person you want to send that audio to, and then you click the button and it's sent. So that's 4 clicks. Now, see, what I was particularly interested in when I got involved in technology was looking at how we could make the homework part of my lessons or of language teaching more interesting. I was really lucky. I lived in Spain. I was working in a lovely language school. I was teaching English. I came back to England. I was teaching Spanish. And I was, doing a lot of pair work and group work things in my classes. I even wrote a few books on photocopyable materials. And I was quite happy with what I was doing in the class. But what I was frustrated with was that at the end of my lessons, I would get my students to then go home and I'd tell them to read such and such a page of a book, or I would tell them to do an exercise from the activity book. And there was kind of disconnect between what I was doing in the class and my lessons, and they were quite dynamic with lots of group work and pair work and photocopyable materials, etc., and what I was doing outside of the class. When technology came along, that was what interested me, because I thought to myself, well, I could get my students to do more interesting things for homework now. I could get them to watch videos. I could get them to listen to something. I could get them to do an interactive activity. I could get them to follow a story, to look at some cartoons. I could get them to do some recordings. And that was where this idea of what I call the connected classroom started. So the idea was that I wanted to build a strong link between what I did in the classroom and what I got the students to do at home. Now, just to put it in simple terms, let's say, for example, that I was going to get my students to describe a picture of the countryside. So in the lesson, I might get the students to, first of all, start with some vocabulary work, think about words connected to the countryside, maybe do a brainstorming activity. They put the words on the board, or I write them up for them, or I get them to come up to the front and write them up, or I do it in groups. Then after we've looked at that, we might look at some of the language that goes with it. So there are at the top, on the left, at the bottom of the hill, etc. So we start to give them some language input. And then I might do an activity where, for example, I say on the whiteboard, I start to draw a picture of the countryside and I describe the picture as I'm drawing it. So I'm just so that they get a bit of an idea. And then what I might say to the students is, right, now I want you to quickly draw a picture of the countryside, or give them a picture of the countryside, and in pairs I want you to describe that picture to your partner. Perhaps, for example, they've got different pictures, so you've got to find the differences. So all of that work has been done in the class. And then maybe for a last thing in the lesson, we might look at, well, how would you normally talk about a picture? So you might start with the general. Yeah, this is a picture of the countryside. It's probably been taken in England. It looks like it's the winter time. And slowly you go from the general to the more specific. So we might look at the structure. But then what we get the students to do is say, right, for homework, you're going to go home. You're going to go onto Vocaroo. And you're going to click on Vocaroo, and you're going to record yourself describing a picture of the countryside. So you might provide them with that picture, or you may even suggest that they find a picture themselves. So the student goes home. They've done all the work in the classroom. The student goes home, and they simply go onto Vocaroo. So obviously I'm anticipating that they've got access to technology, so they can either use that in the language lab or at home or at work. They go online. They go onto Vocaroo. They already have the structure in their mind. They already have the picture ready. They click a button, and they just start to describe the picture. So they're doing the speaking activity at home. It's very much connected to what they were doing in the class, but they're actually doing the speaking activity at home. They record themselves. If they're not happy, they can always stop it and just record again. As I told you, it's just one button. They record themselves. They stop it. When they're happy with it, they click the send button. It opens up an address. They write the teacher's email address in there and send it off. And then the students when they click the send button, they send off the sound file to the teacher. So I'm the teacher at home. 3 or 4 days after I've set up the exercise, I open up my emails, and suddenly I get loads of emails from my students who have done their recordings. Now, the interesting thing about many of these websites is that they're not physically sending you the sound file. They're just sending you an address of where that sound file is being kept on the internet. It's called the cloud. We'll talk about it in terms of the cloud. So there's no physical sound file being sent to you. You are the teacher. You're at home, you open up your email, suddenly you've got a list of your students and they've sent you an email, and you can then click on and listen to them speaking. Now, one of the issues I've had with this idea is the problem that, I'm just going to click onto the next screen. One of the things that problems with this idea is that obviously when you receive those sound files and you play them back, it's a lot of work for you to listen to every single one and take notes and then give individual feedback. So what I've generally been doing with the tool is I've not been giving specific feedback to students, but I have been listening to all of the audio files, taking some notes, and then sending, and then in the next lesson, giving them some general feedback about structure, about grammar, about pronunciation, and maybe playing 1 or 2 of the best examples. So the whole idea is to get this kind of connected classroom between what you're doing in the lesson and what you're doing out. You're trying to make the homework more interesting. You're particularly pushing them towards speaking activities, because speaking is the hardest thing, particularly when I lived in Spain. It was very frustrating. You know, like, could I get my students to do speaking practice outside of the class? Now, what tools can we use for this? And as I said, I'll show you my website later, and I will show you these tools. I'm going to demo one of them today, or the one I'm going to demo is Jing. All of these tools, and 4 of them I'm recommended, and I said there are help videos on my website to show you how to use all of these tools. But there's Jing. Jing's a fabulous tool. There's, I need to put it on highlight. There's Audioboom. Audioboom's a fabulous tool. Jing records both the voice and everything that you're doing on the screen. Audioboom just records your voice. Vocaroo, which is the one I've been describing to you, that records your voice as well. And the last one is MailView, and that records both your voice and a camera. So if your students are connected to if they've got a camera, they can not only send you their voice of them speaking, but you can also, rather like you can see now, they can actually send you a camera of a film of themselves. Now that could be particularly interesting. I haven't done this yet, but could be very interesting if you, for example, wanted the students to maybe do an interview. So they're doing a dialogue. So there's 2 people. Now, obviously, I do understand that all of these ideas require a certain degree of, well, first of all, that the students have got access to the internet, and secondly, of course, that you can use these tools. But as I've said, I promise you, these tools that I'm going to demo are really, really, really simple. And they are literally, most of these are just 4 button clicks, particularly Jing, Vocaroo, and Malview. All of those tools, my training videos will show you how to use those tools in just 2 or 3 minutes. They really are that simple. And this is what I'm particularly interested in, is trying to get those teachers that maybe are not making much use of technology to take their first steps and to realize that there are now many technologies around that are really simple to use and that they can begin to do this. Now, if you're lucky enough, of course, to have a virtual learning environment around you, maybe you're using something like Moodle, then you may even be able to do this inside of Moodle. But if you can't, then these tools are available to you and they are really, really simple to use. Now, I've done quite a lot of experiments with these, okay? I'm just going to sort of take you through one more example. Sort of, again, the key thing, and then we're going to try and demo this live, okay? The key thing is this idea of the connected classroom. So let's take, for example, an example of students talking about, let's say you decide you're going to do a lesson on the students talking about their typical day. So you might start the lesson with some kind of brainstorming activity that looks at the vocabulary. So you might say to the students, I've used the wrong pen again. You might say to the students, right, okay, we're going to do, let's think of verbs that we might use to describe our typical day. Yeah, so if we're doing it in Spanish, levantarse, peinarse, comer, almorzar, etc. So you might suddenly do a brainstorming activity where you're getting the students to think of all of the vocabulary connected with their typical day. And you might write that up on the blackboard, or you might get the students to work in groups and to think of all the verbs and then get some of the groups to share their lists. And then you might say to the students, right, okay, now let's look at some of the adverbs that we're going to use to talk about typical day. So you might then sort of look, so you're moving from not just the vocabulary, but thinking a little bit about the language and structure that they might need to use, talking about words like after and before, or at 6 o'clock, or at 7 o'clock, blah, 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 blah. So you're doing a bit of sort of vocabulary or language work. So you move from sort of language, blah, blah, blah. Then what you might do is you might draw a timeline on the board. I've sort of done a really simple one here, for example. You might draw a timeline on the board, and you might take a few notes underneath, say 9 o'clock, get up, have a coffee, send your emails, 9:30, have a shower, or whatever. You might draw out your own timeline of your typical day, and then say to students, right, I'm just going to tell you about my typical day. Bueno, normalmente me levanto a las 9 de la mañana, la primera cosa que hago siempre es tomar un cafilito y después echo un vistazo a mis emails. So you might start by doing a little presentation to the students, and you would take them through their typical day. Your typical day. And the students would just be listening. You might get them to ask questions to you, but you're just presenting this whole idea of sort of talking about habits. Then you say to the students, right, now I want you to draw a timeline. So they draw out a timeline starting from the morning. I've done a little bit of an example here at the bottom. It's only a very simple one, but you can sort of see here a basic timeline. Obviously, this has only gone on for a few hours. The idea really would be to sort of do right through 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, 12, right until they go to bed. You can do it, put a time, and then underneath write a few notes to help them when they're explaining. So they're kind of organizing their timeline. And then you say, right, now you're going to do a practice. You're going to work in pairs. One person is going to talk about their typical day to the other student. And then after, the other student can do the same. So everyone's getting the chance to practice. And you say, so then you walk around the class and listen to them. You might take a few notes. You might make a few suggestions. And say, look, be careful when you're saying this. Yeah, normalmente we say alas, blah, 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 if they're getting the time wrong. Or say, don't say it's me levanto. Don't forget it's a reflexive pronoun, etc. So you might get them to, you might do a few corrections. And you might even say to them, right, now go back to your timeline and improve it. Is there anything else you want to put in? And then the students simply go home with their timelines, and then perhaps that day or another day, they sit down in front of their computer, or they do it at work, or they do it in the language labs, and they go to Vocaroo, they go to Jing, and they click on the button, and they start to record themselves talking about their typical day. They just have to talk. There's no other buttons on Vocaroo, for example. Talk about their typical day, finish, click the send button, which opens up the place where they can write in the teacher's email address, click the send button, and that is all done. So they need 3 clicks of the computer and access to an internet. Obviously, they need a microphone. You are the teacher, and you will receive those files. As I said, you actually receive the links to the files that are on the internet. And that's it. It's that simple. It really is not a difficult thing to do. Now, what I'm going to try and do now is I'm going to demo one of these tools. The tool that I'm going to demo is called Jing. The reason I'm going to demo Jing is because Jing does 2 things. It records your voice, but it also records what you do on the screen. And the reason I'm going to show you this tool because it can be very, very interesting. It works in more or less the same way, and we'll probably come back to that in a minute. So I'm going to attempt now to jump from doing this presentation to actually sharing. And we've rehearsed this a few times. We think it's going to work. So here we go. So I'm going to share. Basically, I'm going to share. So I'm going to click it. In fact, just for the sake of this part of the thing as well, I'm going to turn my video off. I'm going to share my screen. So I'll click here. And it's asking me to begin sharing, and I'm going to say begin sharing. Now it's asking me what part of my screen I want to share, so I'm going to tell them desktop. So that means everything on my screen in a minute you should be able to see. So I'm going to click OK. And I'm hoping now that you are able to see my screen. It's telling me that everything's going okay. So I'm just going to, hopefully now you're able to see everything that's on my screen here. I'm just going to show you Jing. Jing's here at the top of the screen. So when you download Jing, Jing's just a teeny weeny piece of software. When you download Jing, it always sits up here. Once you go to your programs and open it up, you'll always sit up here. If not, you can always find it in your programs. Sorry about that. So if I click here on Jing, what Jing does is it records everything on my screen, everything that I'm doing. So if the students have got Jing at the top of their screen, let's say that you've taught the students to talk about themselves. So I'm just going to click or talk about a picture. So I'm just going to open up a picture. So look here, I might actually have the picture here available. Let's just click on here. Okay, so I've got a picture here of a presentation that I was doing. So imagine that where the students have got to talk about something that they did at the weekend. So the students open up their picture. In fact, funny enough, in the background there, in this picture, you can see Vocaroo. I'm demoing Vocaroo. Now, I'm going to use Jing, and I'm just going to click. All I have to do is click here and just simply draw a square around the outside of that picture. And now I just click on this button, and as soon as I click on there, after 3 seconds, it will start to record my voice and anything that I do on the screen. So if I click on here now, capture video, after 3 seconds, okay, so this is a picture of me in France. I was doing a presentation at TESOL France, and I'm demoing one of my favorite pieces of software called Vocaroo. It was a fantastic weekend because a lot of friends were in France doing presentations, and we all met up. And in the evening time, we did a karaoke session, which was great fun, everyone getting up and playing the guitar, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so I finished. The students have done their recording, and look, the recording is ready immediately. Now, if I play this back, you won't be able to hear this because, unfortunately, you're connected through my microphone, but I will be able to hear it. And you, as a student, could now play this back. And it is a recording that includes both sound and anything that I did on the screen with my cursor. Now, I'm going to play it back. You won't be able to hear it, as I said, because we're connected through the mic, so my sound system's not coming through Wimber. But just to click on it, you can... Hopefully, you can at least see the cursor going around on the screen, and I can actually hear myself talking. So the students, that's all the students had to do, and I'm just going to go through that again. I'm just going to stop that just to make this point. Okay, so the students open up a picture onto the screen. So you've done some work in the class talking about, I don't know, maybe the pictures of the countryside, maybe the pictures of one activity that they, or a holiday they were on, or something like that. Whatever you've asked them to describe, the students open up the picture onto their computer screen. They go to Jing. Jing is free. There's no cost. They click, and then they just draw a picture around, square around the outside of the picture. They click on the button, and then after 3 seconds, they can start talking. Bueno, es un foto, un fin de semana que fui a Francia, hice una charla sobre la enseñanza de inglés, blah, 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 blah. Okay, so I've done my presentation, and that's all done. Now, the only thing is that we need to send that to the teacher. Okay, so we've done that first thing, which was we just made the recording. That is a recording that includes a picture that I've recorded, because that's what I screen captured, plus my voice. Now, if I click on here, share screencast, when you get Jing, you get a free place to save your videos. So if I send that, click on that button now, it automatically uploads that video onto the Jing server. This is all free. It doesn't cost you any money at all. Okay, and what happens is you send that video, the student sends that video onto the server, so they've had to click one button, so you'd have to teach them to do this. And then what happens is Jing sends you back the URL. This is the address. So then the students copy that, so they copy it, and then imagine they open up their email, and they just say, I'm just going to close it down, they just say to the teacher, hello, teacher, here is my homework, and paste it in, Russell. That's it. The teacher then receives that homework, so I then email that to my teacher, and the teacher can simply click on here and play the video back. So it's that simple to use Jing. And this way we're able to get the students to do a lot more speaking activities. Now, I'm just going to close that down a minute. In fact, I can probably just quite quickly go to my website. So this is my website. This is teachertrainingvideos.com. And if we go to the ELT/ESL videos, I'm just going to click here on the left-hand side, you'll see that in the middle here, this is a great set of training videos that I've just made, which has got some new websites that I've just found in the last couple of weeks, including some fantastic things for other languages. But here is how to use Jing, so you can watch those videos. Here is how to use MailView and Vocaroo, and it literally takes 5 seconds. So you can go to this website and you can learn how to use these tools, and you can think about, I mean, you might find interest in what I'm presenting as an idea. Now, if just out of interest, just to sort of tell you a little bit more about the website, so these, what you're going to see when you click on these is actual videos of me showing you how to use all these different sites that I'm presenting to you. So you can learn to use Vocaroo, you can learn to use Jing here. I have got a special section now for other languages, so if you click here, then you can see loads of tools here that you can use for not only teaching English, but also for teaching French and Spanish, etc. And also I have some short videos here at the bottom as well. These are really quick ones, just really simple tools that you can try and use. And I try to keep it generally updated. There's one or two things that get a little bit out of date, but generally I keep it really up to date. If you go to the home page as well, many of these sites, even though I'm suggesting that you use them for teaching English, they can be used for teaching any other language as well. For example, this timeline tool. Just out of interest, if I just click here, I'm just going to open up a video here. I'll actually won't run the video, but you see. The idea here is to show you 10 fabulous. Right, so this is what happens when you open up the website. You get to see, there is one here called Digital Dialects. That is fabulous, and there is content there for every language. So if you click on that one there. The second website I want to show you, I want to thank Richard. Digital Dialects. If you just follow that little video there, it shows you where Digital Dialects is and some of the content that's on Digital Dialects. Is an absolutely fabulous tool. Excuse me. So that is the idea. The idea is that using these really simple technologies like Jing, like MailView, like Vocaroo, you can do these types of activities where you do the preparation work in the class, but you're getting the students to do the recordings at home. Let me just sort of go back to the actual presentation. So I come back here. Right, I'm going to end sharing. Hopefully that brings me back into the room. Right, so we should now be back on the screen. I'll just put my video back on. I'm going to leave it there. Hopefully that's worked, because I've got no idea what you're seeing your end and whether or not the demo did work. I encourage you to go to my website and use those videos to help you, and there are lots of other ideas as well. But it's those particular tools. I didn't talk about Audioboom, but I'm just about to put some new training videos for Audioboom onto my website as well. But I've talked a little bit about Mailview and Vocaroo and Jing, and you've seen how Jing so easily records both your voice and what you do on the screen. It's got loads of different uses. On my website, I've got some videos where I talk about all the different ways that I've used the tool, I hope that went really well. It was great fun doing it, but it's very strange not being able to get any feedback, because I'm just sitting here in my office doing the presentation. So thank you very much, and I don't know if anyone's got any questions. Perhaps they could be passed through Teresa. I'm not really sure how we're going to work this out. Teresa, got any ideas?
Yeah, thanks very much. Everything went fine our end. I hope you picked up some of the feedback I was sending you through the text box. I wouldn't use any emotion at this time. I didn't get emotional. But everybody in the room looked emotional, and it was certainly wrapped with attention. So what I'm going to do is use my headphone as the microphone and just pass it over for questions, Russell, if that's okay with you. We're asking whether there are alternatives to Jing. I know Jing is so chosen, and I suspect that there are alternatives if you pay for them. But
Yes, yeah, the answer to that is yes, there are alternatives to Jing. I love Jing because I just love the way it works. There are 3 or 4 free alternatives, because the important thing is Jing is free. On my website, if you go to the section where it says ICT tools, that's general tools for all teachers, you'll see that I showed 2 other ones. One of them is called ScreenR, I think another one is called Screen Toaster, and both of those tools are also free. So you're not limited to Jing. It's just that Jing is my favorite tool. I love the way Jing works, and I have to say Jing has never let me down. But I know that ScreenR, and I know a lot of people like Screen Toaster. If you go to teachertrainingvideos.com, if you go to the section that says videos for ICT, that is general teaching, yeah, for all teachers, not just for language teachers, you'll see in the section of screen capture tools that I recommend Jing, I recommend ScreenR, and I recommend Screen Toaster, and I've got help videos to show you how to use all those tools.
thanks very much, Russell.
Yeah, I'm hearing you really badly.
Okay, I'll try talking into the microphone. That might help. Let me just look around the room and see if we've got any more questions. Yeah, I think this is something that is perhaps an area that both Russell and I could answer on, because the tools that have been done today exist on the internet, but they're not integrated or embedded together. So we have to complete in our view. But Russell, what sort of integration?
Yeah, obviously you have to appreciate that. I mean, in terms of integration, if you use Audioboom, there's no problem at all. You can, in fact, there's quite a lot of integration with the tools I've showed you. You can embed the sound files into a virtual learning environment. You can certainly do that with Vockaroo. You can certainly do that with Audioboom, and you can certainly do that with Jing. I can't remember about MailView, I must admit. Obviously, you have to appreciate that, I get, as I said, about 10, 15,000 users a month, and these users are all over the world. Some of them aren't lucky enough to have virtual learning environments, and so I, look for tools that are separate, isolated on the internet that they can use. But most tools now do both, so you can definitely copy and paste when you click on the send button for Vockaroo, for example, you either can send the link or copy the embed code. And if you copy the embed code, then that will paste into your blog or into your virtual learning environment or into your wiki. So you can do it both ways.
Thanks for that, Russell. I'm going to have to wind up because I know people have to make their way to another session now. But obviously we're capturing all of this and it'll be on the MP4. It'll be available. And if people want to contact you, is that okay if they do that directly?
Yeah, please, honestly do. I mean, lots of people do. Please make use of the website. I mean, it's free. It's been funded by money that I've won, and it's there for the teachers. So please make use of it. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.